Hello and welcome back to another video from the Block IoT. Recently, LinkedIn gave me a notification because someone liked one of my very old articles on LinkedIn, which I wrote to discuss how we can use version control tools such as Git to track changes of our PLC, HMI, SCADA, or any other industrial programs using a version control like Git, which is widely being used in IT environments, and it is an essential tool for software developers and overall in IT environments. So in the mentioned article, which I wrote around 4 years ago, I discussed how you can use Git and GitHub to track changes in your PLC code, and I provided two examples using Rockwell Automation and Schneider Electric PLCs. So if you haven't checked that article out and if you are curious how you can use that tool, make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn. So as you may read on that article, using Git was involving using command line and overall wasn't that much user-friendly for an average OT professional or an automation engineer. But it's 2024 and things have changed significantly. Today, a few automation software vendors have already included Git in their software, and using Git and version control is an essential tool for any automation engineer. So if you're an automation engineer who uses an old-fashioned style to control the version of their PLC or HMI program, which includes creating a new folder, adding a date to the folder name, and so on, I think this could be a wake-up call to take advantage of new technologies and tools which can significantly improve your experience when you're writing a new PLC program or HMI program or any other industrial application. Today's video is for Siemens TIA Portal users. If you are programming a Siemens PLC, HMI, a SCADA, or maybe configuring some VFDs and so on, I'm here to tell you there is a cool and free feature that most of you maybe haven't heard of it. You shouldn't be a professional TIA Portal user to take advantage of this feature. Even if you are just getting started and learning a PLC, this version control tool can be very useful for you. And I have to emphasize, this is a free and powerful tool which not many people have discussed before. So make sure you stick around until the end of this video. When it comes to version control in TIA Portal, you have a few options. The first and the most famous one is called VCI, or Version Control Interface, in TIA Portal. There are several good tutorials and videos on the internet about Version Control Interface or VCI in TIA Portal, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. But just to summarize, to use the VCI or Version Control Interface within TIA Portal, all you need to do, you need to go to the Siemens Industry Online Support and download the proper VCI connector for your TIA Portal. For example, you can download the VCI Git connector, which lets you to use Git and GitHub for version control of your PLC program. It's very important to remember, VCI is only for PLC program, not for HMI or SCADA project. Similarly, if you're using SVN instead of the Git, you might download the appropriate VCI connector for the SVN. So we can use VCI for version controlling of our PLC program. But what if someone wants to track changes in their HMI or SCADA project? They cannot use the VCI at the moment. Maybe in the future at some point Siemens adds that capability in the version control and VCI, but at the moment it is not possible. So you cannot use VCI for managing your HMI SCADA project. So the solution that I'm going to discuss today is called Project Server. As I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure many of you don't know that you can use this tool free of charge with some conditions. So let's see what is a project server and what we are going to discuss in the next few minutes. As you can see here, the idea of project server is instead of creating a new project on your local machine, you create a server which could be on a remote machine or even on the same machine that you are running TIA Portal to keep your project that you are working on. There are two main reasons for using a project server. First of all, dedicating a server for keeping your project instead of just copying on your C drive or D drive and so on makes the backup and restore process very easy. Especially when you have your server set up on a remote machine, you don't need to be worried about your TIA Portal machine, which sometimes goes to the field and might be damaged and you might lose your data. Besides the convenient backup and restore of the project on the server, you can use the project server to keep track of the changes in your project. I will show you shortly how you need to install the software. I will show you how it works in a real-life application. And another main reason for using a project server is because using the project server will allow you to use the multi-engineering capability in TIA Portal. But what does that multi-engineering mean if you are not familiar with? If you take a look at this diagram, for example, if you have one project server set up, you can have several users work on the project at the same time without conflicting with each other. Of course, not two users can change one function, for example, at the same time, because one person's work might override other person's work, and this is not a favorable situation at all. But in TIA Portal, in a graphical manner, you can see what other users are doing and if you are allowed to change something or a function or not. Please keep in mind, if you want to have a multi-engineering feature in your TIA Portal, there is a license and fee for sure associated with that. But in today's video, I'm going to show you can even take advantage of the project server without the need for license in a mode that is called exclusive mode. So in other words, you set up a server and then you exclusively work on that server from your own machine. And in this scenario, you will not need any additional license. Thanks to my very good friend Dominic for bringing this up and letting me know about this feature which I wasn't aware of. Okay, let's get started, and in a real-life application, let's see how we can track the changes of our TIA Portal project. Our project will include one PLC, an HMI, or any other device that you might need in your project. So the first step to get started is to install the project server. As I mentioned, this is a free tool and is readily available on Siemens Industry Online Support website. And as you can see on this page on the Siemens SIOS website, you can download two DVDs. The DVD 1 includes the main software and the TIA Portal, and the DVD 2, as you can see on the notes here, it includes the hardware support packages and some open source software and of course some extra tools, which includes the TIA project server. So the first thing first, if you haven't done already, download the DVD number 2 from the Siemens website. Once you have downloaded the file, because it's an ISO file, you can just mount it in a virtual drive. And as you can see, there are two main folders. So you need to go to the support folder, and as you can see, there are a bunch of folders and files over here. What we need here is the TIA Portal project server. At the moment, the latest version is version 1.2. So the installation process is fairly easy. I have already installed this software, so I might not be able to follow along all the steps, but just to show you, you just need to double click and then hit the run. And just follow along the wizard, just go next, the typical, select your favorite language to install. So once the installation is finished, you will have two additional pieces of software on your machine. The first one is called Project Server Configuration. So if you just search Project Server in your start menu, you will see that. And the second one is TIA Project Server Administration. So to get started, you need to configure your server and define where the server located and so on. So simply click on the configuration software. As you can see, the user interface is fairly simple and it's just a one-page application. If this is the first time that you're opening the configuration software, you might see different messages over here, or this section under security might be empty. So just to show you everything that you need to do, I stopped the service to start from scratch. The first thing that you need to do, of course, you need to select whether you want to use HTTP or HTTPS for the connection. For sure, it is recommended to use the HTTPS because the certificates will be used to secure the communication between the server and the client. So I'm just going to select the HTTPS, and then you will need to define a port that the project server software will be running on. The default port is 8735, and if you are just using on your local machine, you shouldn't have any issue unless you are working on a managed computer which is being controlled by your enterprise or IT. So for now, I'm just leaving the default port to be 8735, and because we are using HTTPS for the connection, we need to either use an existing certificate or we have a choice choice of creating a new self-signed certificate. So for now, I'm just going to create a new certificate. And in the next section, you just need to select a location or a path to save the project server database. And lastly, you just need to define the number of saved revision on the server. This number can go up to 1000 or sometimes unlimited, because it's totally normal that you want to roll back the version to a few previous version. So I'm just going to select number 10 as my number of save revision. And once everything is set up, I just hit the installed service. It might just take a few seconds or up to a minute, depends on your machine. So as you can see, right now my service status changed to installed. That means my server is ready and I can start the service and start using it in my TIA portal. So I'm just going to start the service. So once the service is installed or started or stopped, or even if you get an error, you get a log file over here. So you can browse through the log files and see what's the cause of the error in case you are getting an error. At this time, my server is up and running. As I mentioned, don't let the name of the server confuses you. The server can be installed on the same machine that you are running your TIA portal. Again, this server could be installed on a remote machine, and my TIA portal is going to communicate with this server over this port and the IP address or through the client address. So for now, we are done with the configuration, and all we need to do, we need to make sure we copy the client info from the top. And normally this is just HTTP or HTTPS, followed by the computer name and the port number 8735, which we set in the middle page. So we can just minimize this page. And now let's start from scratch in TIA portal. So I've created a TIA portal project. This is the completely blank project. As you can see, there is no device defined in this project. Let's see how we can connect to the server and work off the project on the server instead of our local machine. To get started, let's just go to the project menu. And as you can see, there is an option for project server, and then you can manage server projects. So as you can see, because we defined the HTTPS for our communication, it will ask us to confirm the certificate to make sure the server is valid. So I'm just hitting OK because I trust my server. And if I click on the Manage Server button, I will get a window to set up my server information. As you can see here, under the project server in the TIA portal settings, I can set up different server, of course more than one server at the same time, to work off the project that are in that server. If you remember from the configuration, we received the client information or the URL from this screen. So we just copy the address and minimize it. And we can just add a new server. So let's just add the URL and let's just give it a name. Just call it block IoT PS, which stands for project server, and hit add. So far we have created a server. We defined a path in the server to store the server database. And here on the TI portal, we can define another path, which is called local project server, to keep a local copy of the project, which is on the server. And we are pretty much done here, and we can close the setting. After all the setting is done, we can just go back to the project server, manage server project. And now the server that we just added on this section, it can be seen over here. So I'm just going to select the server that I just created and added to my TIA portal. So I'm just going to select block IoT underscore PS. So right now I'm connected from my TIA portal to the server. But as you can see here, there is no project defined on the server. The project that I can see here is on my local machine. So any changes that needs to be pushed to the server should be applied to a project that exists on the server. To add our first project on the server, I just double click on this option over here, which is add project to the server. And now I just need to select the source path. This is the path which points to my TIA portal project that I just created. So basically this is the path to the blank project. So now I can just add any comments that I would, and also I can select the create a local session and hit the add, but I won't check this option because I'm going to show you something later. So I'm just going to hit the add and I just want to save the project. After we added the project on the server, we need to add a local copy of that project to work on that, and then we can push the changes to the server or even get the changes from the server to our local copy. So to do that, I just double click again over here, and then I need to specify where this local copy should be stored. In my case, because I already defined this path in the TI portal setting, I don't need to select it again, but you can select different folders and path for saving your local copy. And of course, I can just give it a name. The last thing that I need to mention on this page is the type of the local session that you need to create. We normally use the project server when we want to have multiple engineers work at the same project at the same time. And that involves a license. So you will need a license if you want to use the multi-user engineering feature in the TI portal and TI project server. If you take a closer look, you will see another option, which is exclusive engineering. So if I select the exclusive engineering option instead of multi-user engineering, at least at the moment that I'm recording this video, you will not be asked to provide a license to use this feature, and you can use your project and manage it in the exclusive mode without paying any additional fee, and everything is included in your TI portal. But if you select the multi-user engineering, you will be asked to provide the license. Of course, there is a 21 days free trial if you want to check that, but after the 21 days, you should provide the license for using the multi-user engineering. But for now, I'm just going to select exclusive engineering, and I'm just going to open the session. Okay, so right now I'm working off a project that is on the project server. So any changes that I do here will be applied to the project server, and I can track all those changes. So I think this is the time that I need to introduce you with the second piece of software that you will work on when you're working the project server. So the first one was configuration, which you configured your server. And the second piece of software is called Project Server Administration. So the administration, in a simple word, is just a simple user interface that you will interact with your server, and you can see the changes, you can roll back different versions, you can export the files, and so on. So this is your administration console for your server project. So the first step, of course, I need to add a server. All you need to do, you just copy the client ID or URL over here and hit the add. And as you can see, I am connected to my server, and also I can see I have one project on the server. If I had more than one project, I could see all of the project listed over here. So if I just open the project, I have different options. The first one for sure is the user management. You can manage who can access this project on the server and so on. And on the second option, you can see different local sessions based on this project on the server. So at the moment, I only have one local session open on my TI portal. And because I'm using the exclusive mode and I'm not paying for anything for the license, I can only have one local session at the same time. And the third option, which is the most important one, is the history. So any change that I will apply on my project will be shown and listed here under the history. So let's just do some changes and do some simple programming, add new devices, and see the changes here and see how it works. So I can just minimize this screen as well. So I'm just going back to my project. Let's just add one PLC, and then we will add an HMI. We will add different components to each of these devices and see how the changes are reflected on the server. So first of all, I'm just going to add perhaps a 1200 CPU, 1217, and of course this could be 1500, doesn't really matter, any device. So as you can see here under my devices, I have this option that says apply changes. So at the moment, I've added one CPU to my project. So let's just apply the changes and push these changes to the server. So as you can see here, I can add different comments for keeping track of all the changes. Instead of making different folders on my local machine, I can just write the comments here and there will be only one file. So we just say, you can add your name or any other comments that you would. So if we now go back to the TI portal administration, and if we just refresh the page, you will see that we have a new revision for this project on the server. So if I just select the new revision, which is a revision 2 in our case, and select the show details, you can see that my comment will be shown here. So added one S7 1217 CPU for painting shop control panel. You can also add nodes on the server or administration side as well. So let's just go and perhaps add a program. So let's just start programming our PLC. I just want to quickly add a motor start and start program in my PLC or main block. So I just add a few simple logic over here. Okay, after I implemented any logic that I put or wrote my program in my PLC, I can just hit the apply changes again, and I can add more comments for the revision number 3. And I just hit OK. So now if I go back to my administration console, and if I reload the server, you will see that I have the 3rd revision and my comment can be shown over here. You can also go to the change objects over here, which shows you the details of the changes that has been done in the project. For example, here it tells me that on my main block I edited the organization block or OB1, for example, or I created a PLC tag. Of course, I created 3 different tags, as you can see here. So as you can see, it is not as comprehensive as VCI or version control interface, but it still is very powerful and useful, and you can track all the changes with put in your own comments. And then I will also show you how you can roll back to the select and revision and so on. So just to do further tests, let's just add an HMI. So I'm just going to add a schematic unified comfort panel, and I want to make sure all these changes will be reflected on the server side. As you can see, the HMI has been added to my project. So similarly, we can just apply the changes right away, and we go up to revision number 4. And then I hit OK. And if I go back to the administration again, and I refresh the server, I will see the revision number 4, and I see my comments added 12-inch UCP to the project. So let's just quickly add a screen on your HMI and see the changes. Okay, so for example, let's just add a gauge, a couple of push buttons, and then let's just apply the changes again to the project. And as you can see, we are going up to revision number 5. Okay, now if you go back to the project server administrator and we reload, we will see the change number 5 or revision number 5 and the appropriate comment that we just put it on our TIA portal. So far we use the TIA project server to keep track of the changes in our project. It doesn't matter what you have in your project. It could be a PLC, HMI, and any other device, and you can put a comment for any changes that you do to save it in a local repository, which in our case is TIA project server. But there is more to TIA project server, as I mentioned earlier. For example, here, as you can see, I have 11 different revisions for one project that I've been working on. Now let's see how we can use the administration software to roll back the project to a previous version. This is a very typical application, and in many cases and projects this is needed. For example, if you work as a team member and different people working on different functions in a PLC or designing different screen on the HMI, and it's very normal that the project needs to be rolled back to a previous project that everything was working fine, or a feature that was previously added was not needed. So let's see how it works in real life. So as I mentioned, I have 11 different revisions of this project. Let's just quickly open the project and see what do we have in our project, and then we roll back to a previous version to see how it works. So I just open the project menu and I'll go to project server, manage server projects, and this is the project that I've been working on. So I just select it and click the open. So as you can see here, in the current project on the server or in the latest revision, I have one PLC and one HMI, which is a unified comfort panel. So let's look into the administration console, and just for practicing, let's just roll back the project to a revision that's the HMI or 10-in HMI was added. So we basically want to remove this HMI from our project. Let's see how we can do it. So I have to repeat myself, because we are using the exclusive mode or the free version of the TIA project server, we have some limitation and there are some more steps to be done when you want to roll back the project to a previous version. Because we are in the exclusive mode, we have to make sure that we close the project first before we're rolling back. Because when you are in an exclusive mode, the project is locked on the server and no one else can access the project. So first, I just go to the project and then close. So after the project is completely closed, I open the TIA project server administration software. For example, let's just roll back our project to revision 2, where we just added a CPU, which was S7-1217 CPU to our project. So if everything works, and if I roll back to this revision, after I open the project again from the server, I should only see one CPU and my HMI should be gone. So let's see if it works well. So I just select the revision that I would like to roll back to, and then I click roll back to the selected revision. Depends on the complexity of the project and the size of your project. It might take a few seconds to be finished. After rolling back to a previous version, I have a new revision, which is revision 12. And the comment, as you can see here, is roll back to revision 2. So as you can see, every change is being logged on the project server, which can save you a lot of time in the future. To make sure the rollback process was successful, I just open my TIA portal and I go to the project menu, project server, manage server projects, and then I select the project that I'm working on and I hit the open. And as you can see, I see the changes in my TIA portal project and I only have one CPU. Okay, there you have it. I hope this video was useful for you. If you didn't know already, I hope you now know that how you can use the project server in TIA portal to manage your project in a central repository instead of just manually creating the different folders with different names to keep track of the changes. And of course, give it a try. As I mentioned, the exclusive mode is free, you don't need any license, and even the multi-engineering mode can be tested for 21 days. And if you like it and you can see it can add more value to your team, you might just get a new license for your TIA portal and take advantage of all these new technologies to improve your team performance, to save time and cost for your project. As always, if you have any comments or feedback, you know how to find me. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Please don't forget to follow Block IoT's page on LinkedIn. And also, if you are working on the Industry 4.0 and industrial automation, IoT, IIoT, embedded solution, and so on, make sure you subscribe to Block IoT's YouTube channel to stay tuned. Until the next time, have a great day or night.